See, when it comes to situations which are anyways pretty harsh for us, which are in a way very challenging for us, I think our brain's chemistry completely changes anyways. Our amygdala, which is basically the stress hormones, is anyways at the peak. So this stress hormone is also a very strong promoter of the spotlight effect. And in that case, I feel if you are able to still undo it a little bit, it would be much better for you to be able to deal with the situation. And I still don't feel that even in a situation where you need to learn through hardships, spotlight effect would be still, I feel, detrimental to the growth that you're expecting.
Okay, I'll move on to the first question first. The question is from Mr. Dharmik Thakkar. Hi, Chirag. The spotlight effect is also partially responsible for us to cognitize with our environment. How do you define this fine line between awareness and hyper awareness?
So, yeah, I think it's a pretty interesting question, Dharmik. I agree with you that yes, there is a lot of good also that comes out of the spotlight effect, but the fine line I think exists where it starts to hinder with your day-to-day life. It doesn't have to see certain situations, certain particular environments do require you to be hyper aware, hyper all the time. Let's say if you're saying you're playing a tennis match, you cannot say that you won't be in the spotlight. If you're delivering a speech on stage, you cannot say you won't be, hyper aware. You should be aware. But at the same time, what we are dealing with in this particular scenario is our interpersonal relationships, where sometimes hyper awareness only leads to you becoming less and less engaged with others and more engaged actually within yourself. So that's, I think, what my answer.
Could we say that in situations where we start disassociating with our environment is when we draw a fine line between awareness and hyper awareness? Because that illustration that you shared, where the house party thing, where the everyone was together and suddenly the person lefty feels the spotlight effect on him. So that
Yeah.
is when he starts disassociating or starts creating this bubble. So
Yeah.
this is a problem which I personally face a lot when a group becomes slightly bigger than my comfort zone, that I start creating a bubble around me. So that bubble is what we don't want. Is it so?
Not always, maybe. See, the bubble, if it's leading to something as a protection mechanism where you're able to deal with the situation better, and if it's, let's say, if it is indeed hostile situation, then it's definitely somewhat helpful. But if, let's say, what we are talking about here is everyone is in a way, people are not against you. People are not trying to, let's say, have like a conspiracy against you in this situation. So a lot of things you are building in your mind by noticing too much. If you let go of that noticing too much effect, then you might be able to enjoy that social gathering a little more. So yeah, you're right. When you start to go too much inside and you're losing that track of your environment, that's where maybe you need to, in a way, snap out of it. You need to be aware of that situation that it's happening now. And because honestly, it used to happen with me also a lot. And lately, I have been feeling a little more comfortable with this idea because I have devised certain ways in which I can sort of ground myself back into reality. Yeah. Does that answer you? Okay.
Yes, this.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dominic. It's like breaking the walls around you, right? At the time.
Yes. In a way.
Okay, I'm going to unmute Mr. Shmuel.
Thank you. Very interesting presentation. And I have next question. I want to ask you if spotlight effect support us in different hard and problematic situations. If spotlight effect support us in effective resolution of different hard and difficult and problematic situations.
I'd like to believe that you're asking if spotlight effect affects our, let's say, well-being
If
in a dire strait sort of a situation, in a
yeah,
worse situation, really bad situation. I hope I'm getting the question
Yeah,
right.
if he's supporting resolution hard situations and
if it can
improvement
support res
will be and the improvement will be yes.
Yeah, see,
if it can affect a resolution in
yeah,
a if
mhm.
it can affect the resolution during a hard and twisted situation, help improve the situation by undoing the spotlight effect basically is I think what sir is trying to ask.
I
Yeah.
think, yeah. See, when it comes to situations which are anyways pretty harsh for us, which are in a way very challenging for us, I think our brain's chemistry completely changes anyways. Our amygdala, which is basically the stress hormones, is anyways at the peak. So this stress hormone is also a very strong promoter of the spotlight effect. And in that case, I feel if you are able to still undo it a little bit, it would be much better for you to be able to deal with the situation. And I still don't feel that even in a situation where you need to learn through hardships, spotlight effect would be still, I feel, detrimental to the growth that you're expecting.
Thank you very much.
Hello.
Yeah. Thank you, Shmuel.
Thank you very
I'm going to unmute Mr. Vasant Kumar.
Hi.
No, just I want to make it very clear. What you order is mostly we are all very thick-skinned people. We really don't bother who is watching me, who is not watching me when we are in any kind of situation for that matter, because we are confident of what we are going to do. Okay, only those hyper human beings will be very conscious about who is watching me, what are they thinking about me. Why should they think like that? Am I doing the right thing, or am I singing the right note? All these things are there. I can only say, pardon me for being very frank, you are a psycho. And I am a very frank person and I know what I'm doing. And now what you have done is you have created a quirky righty in me. You are quirky lefty. Now you have created a quirky righty in me. This is how the psychology goes. All these days I was thinking about that. Now suddenly you have created something which I will have to be very conscious now. Whatever you are saying, you have created a new subject in my mind. It's a sort of leaving some worms in my head. So this kind of a situation, what should I do?
See, I think, first of all, I would just like to say that when we enter a situation like this where we are trying to grasp something new, or we're subjected to a subject which we're not aware of at all, if it does concern you, if you feel that you have faced this as a problem somewhere, then I'm sure if the solution is helpful to you, you can use it. But you always take it with a pinch of salt, because I am not saying this is the absolute way of doing anything. But at the same time, this is a perspective that, of course, if it's leaving some residue in your mind, you will have to think about. But if you feel it's not necessary to you and you feel comfortable with your way of being, you're confident, then I think you can just let it be. You can attend it as a fun, let's say, you can focus on the comics, you can focus on the visuals, you can focus on something which is humorous. That's what I would like to say.
You are right.
So I'd like to also add a point here. So when you said in the start that you're already thick-skinned and I mean, doesn't matter to you what people think about you, then you are already not in the spotlight effect. You're already out of it. So this is essentially for people who feel that they're being constantly judged by people. They're constantly thinking what other people are thinking about them. That's the spotlight effect. So
You're right. What I'm
yeah,
saying is, invariably, when we enter in any such situations, we try to ignore those looks and overcome any kind of inferior situations. Okay, and I have also been telling particularly girls about how they will have to be conscious about whatever you are talking about now. When they are looking at it, their view must be 360 degrees. That is, they should not look at something and then at the same time to the left and to the right. Our visions can catch up with any kind of a movement, a sudden movement, a dog chasing, or something like that, so that you can be a little more conscious. At such times, it may be necessary for them to have that kind of a spotlight situation. Anyway, thank you. And thanks, Trishant, a very, very offbeat subject you have taken today.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Can I add something?
Yes, please
So
go
see,
ahead.
physical awareness is a very different kind of a scenario. What we are talking about is a very psychological effect. So physical awareness, where somebody is, let's say for in case of a girl, if somebody is touching you inappropriately, you should obviously physically be very aware of your surroundings. That is not something that I'm trying to dismiss. You have to be very aware of your environment. But at the same time, in your mind, you don't have to be always this aware about how people are perceiving you, how people look at you, how people think of you, how people observe you is less important than how you observe yourself. That's something that I would like to just, in a way, again, reframe. It's not something that I very
Right.
differ with you. Yeah.
Right, Chirag, what I'm saying is, should you be so conscious about?
Yourself.
Yes, to such an extent that it will create your mode of thinking, your thought process will change. Because just because somebody is looking at you, your concentration goes away. That kind of a situation should not be.
Yeah.
That's exactly what he's been saying in the whole session, sir. You basically came back to what he was saying.
True. Anyway,
Okay, sir.
for those who would, I wish I will stop being righty.
For sure.
For sure. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us. Okay. We have a question from Apramita. Here's my question. Is the character quirky left also feeling the same way as the original character?
Yes. To begin with, the initial thought, the perception of a social situation is very different, is very similar. So the first instinct is again stress. Okay. Let's say both of these lefties are encountering a situation. The first instinct is very, very natural, which comes to you. Let's say you're being watched and you would feel uncomfortable. But that processing has changed. How do you process that initial thought has changed. So that's where you create that wall for yourself as a protection mechanism. So do you want to dwell on the first instinct you pick from a situation, or do you want to observe it and, look back at it and again reframe your way of thinking? That's the idea. But yeah, that's a very good question. The impulse, the primary impulse is always the same. That doesn't change. But how much,
Right.
just let's say you talk about anxiety. I think I have mentioned also in the characters' descriptions that this lefty, when is an anxious personality, lets anxiety consume this character. And when he's the quirky version of himself, in that case, he accepts anxiety as a friend. So anxiety still stays. Anxiety is not going. But now he looks at it almost like a passerby, that it will come and go, but I don't need to dwell too much upon it, or I don't need to give it too much heed so that it will almost like grow on me. Yeah. So just a change in, like a slight shift in approach, and the game changes.
Thank you. Okay, could there be so when you create multiple versions of yourself, could there be a side effect to it?
Would there be a side effect to it? Yes, of course there can be a side effect to it. If you end up doing it over and over again, you have like hundreds of versions of yourself, you will get confused.
Yeah, because I asked this because I juggle between a businessman, an artist, and a person who works for an NGO and somebody who goes for cleanup drives, tree plantation. And it puts me in a place where I'm very much sometimes confused about my identity. Like it becomes something very confusing because I like to do everything, but I have only two hands and two legs
I
and a
agree.
brain. And it becomes,
So
but yeah, psychologically, I can understand that I can undo that. I mean, I'm not bothered by what people think and stuff like that, but yeah, it does put a lot of toll on me when I think about what all can I do? Why, why is it that I can do all this? And
again, it's again a very interesting take on how do you differentiate between your roles in society and your roles for yourself.
so,
So can you have certain traits which are consistent in all these roles? Of course, there will be a lot of traits that you will require which are very diverse and very different in one situation compared to the other. But can there be certain core elements of your personality, core traits, which can sort of keep you grounded and make you feel like you're still in the same body, still in the same soul, things like that. So I think, yeah, certain things need to be consistent.
Sure.
And then the overlying layers can keep varying. I think it's always something to do with the core remaining very intact, but the layers above that can keep intertwining, can keep interchanging sometimes, and you can play around more with that. I don't think a core is easy to change. It
Change,
shouldn't
true.
also.
True.
But that's your true identity. I believe.
The next question is from Mr. Dharmik Thakkar. How good of sketching skills do I need to take the upcoming workshop?
The upcoming workshop, yeah. So close to nothing. You don't need to know any sort of sketching, honestly, to begin with. The idea here is to learn as we go, first of all. And also, if even if you don't learn sketching as a skill, you will learn a lot of mental skills, is what I would like to say. Like you saw in this particular presentation, even though I'm a visual designer, my language is visual, but my thoughts can still be valuable to someone who is not coming from a visual background. So I always believe that if you're not good at sketching, you can obviously always compensate with your thoughts, and I will obviously help you with the visualization wherever I can and how much you need. So it's also something, as a thought, I believe if you want to learn, you will obviously, even if you learn something from scratch, you will put your effort and you'll reach a certain point. So yeah, basically you don't need to learn, you don't need to know sketching.
You can do stick figures and also work
Yeah,
it
do
out
stick
basically.
figures, do something as simple as stick figures. Yeah.
The next question is from Ms. Anjal. Hi Chirag, this is Anjal. I have a question regarding you being an illustrator. How does making art and storytelling help you in addressing and managing the spotlight effect?
Yeah. So it's a good question, Anju. Thanks for asking. So for me, I think it allows for me to have the space that I need to process my thoughts. So a lot of times I am doing mechanical work where I'm supposed to sketch something, but once I'm done with the designing, I have to like fill it up with colors and detail it out. So when I'm doing all of that, it's obviously helping me process a lot of the things that I'm not able to in the day to day. So I use the time sometimes. I mean, I have very mindfully now drifted a little away from while you're working, you keep watching something or you're playing music. Sometimes I just drift away from both of these and I just like silence when I'm sketching also. So I am able to deal with certain thoughts and unprocessed, I would say, things in my mind. And that's how it does help me. Yeah. Do you have something like a follow-up for this? Did I answer you?
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
Hi, Chirag. So yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, making art is one of the first question, but in following that, I was more looking towards something where you are introspecting in a certain crowded situation. You are introspecting these
Yeah.
situations around you, and
Yeah.
you're observing things, and it's almost like a content for you to make new art. So I
Yeah.
mean, having a bubble in that sense, it is helping you being an illustrator, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
do you want
But
to
see, it's
continue on
honestly,
that?
it's exactly the opposite of spotlight effect. When I'm observing certain things, I'm generally more focused on what others are doing, what others' lives are. So I'm very rarely focused on what I am looking like or how I am being perceived. So that's in a way very complementary to this approach that we have regarding the spotlight effect. So yeah, did I answer you, or is there something else also?
Yes, yes, you answered me. Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Arjun.
Thank you.
Okay, there's another question from Apramita, which is a follow-up question to the previous one, which was, is the character quirky left also feeling the same way as the original character? The follow-up question is interesting. I also want to understand the chronology. Did quirky left process his emotions first, or did he fake it until he made it?
Interesting question. I will have to look deeper into this. But yeah, I think in hindsight, I would say that it is a bit of a fake it till you make it approach because you won't see your impulses and your primary response to any kind of a stimulus doesn't change very easily. It's deeply ingrained. So you have to sometimes mindfully not react. You just have to stay with the moment. Sometimes, even if it's a little tricky, you you tend to react very easily, right? When you're a little volatile, when you're in the spotlight, you tend to become very reactive. And honestly, I have been like that in the past quite often, where I have encountered a little bit of a discomfort, or let's say an uncomfortable situation, and I have reacted very drastically or in a bizarre manner, which only led to detrimental, which became pretty detrimental for my own personal growth. And the first step, I believe, was to stop reacting, to try and react as less to a discomfort that I feel, that after a while you learn to absorb it without thinking, without having to immediately react. So that automatically gives you that little bit of a brief time. See, it's always little bit like you keep reducing that time frame that you need to process and respond. So the response sometimes would come in 5 days. Sometimes it would come in 7 days. Sometimes it would come in 5 hours, maybe. But I think in a lot of situations now, for me, the response comes rather quickly because the processing has become better, but I'm not reacting. So your ability to, I think, process improves if you do not react too much and you let the situation, let the thought or let the words of the person that has said something, or let's say a physical, let's say an experience consume you first, and then you act upon it. Without absorbing it completely, you're basically again letting your instincts act upon the stimulus that you're getting. But yeah,
I,
it's see, another thing that I would like to say is that it's always an ongoing quest. There would still be certain situations for me even today where I would react, because I am by no means trying to say that I have aced the undoing of the spotlight effect.
okay.
I still get caught up in it every now and then. I still do, but it's just that certain tools which help me, I thought it would be good to share with others also. Yeah.
Thank you. The question is from Dr. Shivam Bansal. There has to be a limit on processing thoughts. Where to draw the line?
Where to draw the line? What I really like is that we're getting some really interesting questions. Where do we draw the line? I
Say
think
negative.
when it's looping, when it starts happening in a loop, that's where awareness comes into picture. For an instance, I used to have these looping thoughts where I would keep spiraling down and down and down, but I would just not realize it. I would just know that there's something off. I would think about the same thing 100 times in 1 hour, but I would not realize that what I'm doing is something which is which is exactly what spiraling is. So if you're mentally aware that you're doing this, you might as well drift your attention somewhere else. You try to, sometimes even distractions work. I would say if you have a close friend, meet that friend. If you have like a, I don't know, like an activity that you really enjoy, indulge in that. Something that can take you away from that looping mechanism. And of course, on top of that, if it still doesn't help, I would say consult someone, a professional, because I am not a professional. I'm not a mental health professional. I can only give certain tools which, in a way, help me and I would like to share. But yeah, if you seriously feel that you need help, please consult a professional. But on a general note, I'd say, yeah, like Trishan said, once it starts to overwhelm you, once you realize that it's in a loop, you try to be aware of it. That's why we talk about, no, I don't need help, of course you don't need help. We're not trying to say that
Just asking a deep question.
yeah. No,
Thank
no,
you,
no.
Shivam, for being a part of the session.
Thank you,
Okay.
Shivam. Thank you, Shivam.
Can I
Yeah.
can I sketch like two examples of maybe celebrities I know, and then you can tell me that, maybe it is the spotlight effect that did them up or something. Say, for first example would be maybe Kurt Cobain, right?
Yes.
So it all went
Agreed.
spiraling down continuously,
Yeah,
and a lot of bad experiences over and over, over and over,
exactly.
and after a point,
When you're
just
in the public eye, you're just, it's almost impossible to, how do you undo it? I mean, you are going to be, because for them, it's a practical challenge. For us, it might be
Sushant Singh
something more
Rajput.
psychological, but for them, it's genuinely psychological, genuinely, for real.
Mr. Shivam has mentioned Sushant Singh Rajput.
There's
Guess
a lot of
Apramita, I think,
examples, Britney
mentioned Britney
Spears.
Spears. So I can
Yeah.
also try to mention an opposite of this. So
Okay.
you must be knowing of this guy, Eddie Vedder. He was the lead vocalist of Pearl Jam. So
Oh, yeah, yeah.
He wrote this song called Jeremy when he was really young. So Eddie Vedder, when he was in school, was a bully. He bullied someone so bad that the kid went and killed himself.
Oh
So
shit.
that thing changed Eddie's life completely. And he actually started, writing stuff. He started, maybe like, how you're visual illustrating and stuff. He started writing stuff. He started documenting it and he started doing it in a, say, creative manner. And that helped him cope with it. It helped him
Wow.
get out of it. It helped him stop thinking what people are thinking about it, about him in a loop continuously, and then get out of it and come out say a more productive and effective guy. And I felt he undid the spotlight effect on him just during the school itself, like which is really amazing
Yeah.
to do. And
Interesting.
moved on, like in a very positive, nice way.
Yeah.
And
See,
I
that's what
think,
art does to
mm,
you. That's
yeah,
why a lot of artists say that when we are doing art, we forget everything else. We get consumed with the art. So then the perception of you, the perception of how you are being perceived, that definitely fades away a little bit when you're working. So that happens with me also very often, that when I'm indulged in something, like for an instance, while I was preparing this presentation only, during the mind mapping and everything, I was not, for a couple of days, I was not thinking about anything else. So that way is I can give that testimony also, because it does make you forget everything else and it does bring into focus something which is in a way bigger than you, larger than you is what you feel, which is in a way going to be more significant than you. So in a way a dissolution of that ego, that self, is something that art brings about, I feel,
true,
or any kind of a creative venture, I believe. For
true.
somebody, it might be, I don't know, repairing a computer. I don't know.
Problem
I
solving, yeah,
problem
problem solving.
solving. It can
Yeah.
be something, yeah, physics, mathematics, whatever. But yeah, if there's something you're passionate about and you're deeply engrossed in that,
S-
I'm dead sure that the
s-
spotlight effect
Goes
does
goes away.
go away. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing.
And if it's temporarily able to help you this much, then imagine if that's why people focus on hobbies, right? If you
Mm,
enjoy something, you're let's say playing a sport, you forget everything else, you're focused on the sport. Then if you make it a regular part of your life, you're constantly having one fixed mechanism through which you are, whenever you're overwhelmed, whenever you are, feeling unwell, you would in a way benefit from that activity. That's what I believe. So I have been extremely lucky that sketching does that for me, and that's what I'm doing for my life professionally. So
mm.
yeah, if you can find something that you can, I think, take it on as a career, nothing like it. And if I don't know, if there's other stuff, try and focus more on it. Give it more time than what you probably are.
Amazing. Thank you, Chirag. Thank you so much for your time. I think we are done with all of the questions.